Thank you very much, Clermont, and thank you for this invitation here. It's really a pleasure to be here in Brazil. And well, as Krista yesterday was presenting the student works that they have been developing in our institute, Interface Culture, today I'm going to talk about our own work, own artwork that we have been developing since the last 20 years, and I regrouped them into different thematic. One thematic that we've been very interested since a long time, actually, started in '93. It's the theme of artificial life, which is a scientific research field, and we actually met Christopher Langton and Tom Ray, who are two key researchers in this domain, and then we started to be interested in this idea of evolving artwork. So, as you can see here, we have some principles that have been extracted from the biological study of how evolution happens. And one of them is spontaneous generation of order, self-organization, incorporation, self-reproduction, which is very important, metabolizing, learning, adaptation, and evolution. Well, evolution is being the consequence of all this in time. The idea was to create an open-ended artwork and leaving the door open for unexpected results instead of modeling each part of in a deterministic way. We were rather looking at the emergence of new properties and forms through the complex interaction possibilities left by the environment that was created. So we made more of an environment than actually an artwork as an object. And like this, we could recombine information, apply genetic algorithms and genetic programming to image and sound production for the search of a novel feature, and have an artwork that is not pre-designed or predetermined by us. Evolve is an interactive artwork, the first one of the series that we developed in 1994, and is dealing with digital evolution. So here the user can interact with some creatures that they have been creating, and it's displayed in the water-filled glass pool. There's water in this pool, and people are welcome to interact with the image projected from below. We also introduced a different interface for creating these creatures. Here it's a touch screen, and this touch screen has a kind of a small editor. And you can see here two drawings. On the right side, you have the profile view of your creature, and on the left side, you have the front view. So it's a bit like this bottle. You have here the profile view, so you will draw the line of the profile, and then the front view, which would be just a circle. And then the computer will assemble these two information and make basically a three-dimensional form out of it. So creating a complex creature will take just a few seconds. Then you send it to the pool. The pool is like this. It's well, this is a small schematic of it, but basically it's a large pool that can have around 20 people around, and then the touch screen will be next to it. There's a projector below, so the picture is projecting from below, and above you have a camera looking at people interaction. So now I'm going to describe a little bit more in detail how we integrated actually this field of artificial life into this specific artwork. So it's becoming a bit more technical, but here basically you see how the creature DNA is being made. Basically it's extracted from the form itself. So when you draw the form describes how it's built, and therefore we have now a kind of genetic code that we can transfer to the next generation. We have also colors and all this information on top of it. In order to have interaction between the creatures, we had to introduce also something like energy level. So basically all the creatures are born with the energy equal to 1. And when they start moving, they decrease their energy. So they have muscles. The muscles are attached to the body, and the body is soft. So it's like a jellyfish in a way. It's like a form in the water, and the water is stimulated. So there's physics inside the program that calculate the dynamics of this creature when it's moving. So, for example, if you draw something like look like a box, it has very little chance to actually move much in the water because it's not made to move. It has too many forces against it. If you have something that looks more elongated, or like this bottle, for example, then it starts to move a little bit better. The energy is decreasing all the time, and therefore, when the creatures eat, this energy is going up again, and then they can continue living. If the energy goes down to zero, they are dead. So artificial life is also artificial death at the same time, and you have to introduce both things. We also had to introduce the creature vision system. So each creature is capable of estimating the speed of other creatures in the pool as they arrive. And for this, we had to also make a kind of muscle control for each creature. And this was done by bending the body of the creature. So since they are soft bodies, they can actually bend their bodies. And by bending and propulsing themselves by a wave propagation on their skin, they actually move. So if they are like straight, they go straight. If they bend slightly, they start turning, okay, in all directions. So their vision is limited to 110 degrees, so it's basically like just a field of vision. It's not the entire pool, so they will not see all the pool at the same time, so they have to move around actually to see something. We introduced predator and prey behavior inside, so we didn't determine which one is a prey or which one is actually predator, but it's decided by what is already in the pool. So each creature is actually interacting with another, and depending on the speed, because this is what they evaluate, they will flee any creatures that are faster than them, or try to attack the ones that are actually slow. Okay, so this is just an estimation for them, and they will succeed or not. This is not completely determined. The pool is rather small. It has like 4 walls around. It has a very big depth. We don't see the end of the pool when you look at it, and so the creatures have tendencies to try to escape but bump into walls. Okay, so this is good eventually for the creature to make the predator confused. So it's not completely for sure that a faster creature will actually capture a slow prey. Okay. The mating is done by collision of two creatures that want to collide. So basically, they feel ready to mate, and to mate, they have to get the energy level higher than 1. Okay, so they have to eat first, right? So you eat first, the creatures eat first, and then they have extra energy to spend for mating. So they decide which one of the creatures is fit for that, and they try to actually go towards each other. They may or not succeed again. This is a hazardous thing, but they mostly succeed. And when they succeed, they collide, and then they immediately exchange their DNA string and make one offspring. Okay, so it's rather fast. They have a few minutes to live, so the offspring is growing up very quickly. In a few seconds, it's already a grown-up, but it's accelerated because evolution, as you know, takes millions of years. We have not that much time in an exhibition for this piece, so we had to accelerate everything. So basically, the creatures live for a few minutes. When they mate, they immediately have a child. The child grows very quickly. So the genetic exchange is done like in a biological world. So basically, it's an exchange, a random exchange between their genes, and then it creates another form that inherit the parents' body's features, and also have random features inside. So the random factor is quite important because it enables things to change radically sometimes. So the child creature will eventually have features that the parents didn't have. Their behavior and interaction are relatively complex, at least enough to give unexpected results. Some of the creatures' body over several generations can be very fit, and it is sometimes very hard for the public to create a better design than what is in the pool, that has evolved in the pool. Because what has evolved in the pool is really fit for the environment, while when you are trying to imagine your own creature, how it will actually behave, it's a much harder job to do that. So you try out something, you see how it's reacting, and eventually you try it again. So here's a small movie showing you Krista drawing some forms on the screen. You can do as many as you want. And there they are. So they are moving on inside the pool and try already to interact with other creatures. So at the beginning it looks a bit chaotic. It's like looking at an ant nest, so you don't know what's happening, but they have all their logic, and so all the creatures are actually looking carefully at the movements of other creatures and try to evaluate their speed and either flee or go away. We had to introduce another dimension inside this piece, is the fact that people interact with the creatures directly in the pool. So basically, when you put your hand over the creature's body, you hide these creatures for the rest of the pool. And that has very great consequences, because then, first of all, you could stop a predator attacking your creatures that you created, and then change completely the story, because then you are introducing a factor that is not part of the computer rules, and you are putting an empathic basically behavior into this system. So you could protect eventually a creature that has no chance to survive by eliminating all the other prey, or you could help your creature escape from a predator by just protecting it. But you should not do it all the time, because the creature is being captured by you and therefore has no food anymore and might die actually if you hold it for too long. So it's like a fragile balance between the two. A year later, we made another piece called Phototropy in 1995, and here the interface is even simpler. So we basically have just a flashlight. The user has a flashlight in his or her hand, and then light up the screen. And as you do that, you are freeing different types of flying insects. For this, I had to design a fly simulator for insect, which was based on physics. So basically, the size of the wing, the weight of the body, and gravity is calculated for each insect. So they are born at random at the beginning. So they have all kind of size, pair of wings, and everything. So some of them are not capable of flying; they just will fall down. And the one that have the right ratio by chance of the wing size and the body weight will start to fly. Okay. They resemble a bit of insect, but they are not actually made for it. They just have a body and pair of wings. That's it. I was trying to limit the look at it just by the size of the wings. And here you have the interface, which is the flashlight, which is completely ordinary. We could not connect a camera directly to a computer at that time. The computers were really, really slow. I mean, they could not really grab the picture of a camera and analyze it. So I had to develop a different way how to make the analysis. Here on each corner of the screen, I placed a small sensor. This is a light sensor. And with the help of some mathematical formula, you could find out where was the spotlight on the screen. And this information was relayed to the insect, and the insect could actually follow the light beam. So I'm not sure if you experienced that already, but I mean, when you have lights outside, the insects are coming to the light because they are really attracted to it at night. But there is a big danger for them. First of all, they waste time a lot, and then they die because probably they get burned by the light beam, which is exactly the same here. So basically, you have this insect to feed with the light. They will come to the light beam, but if they reach the light beam, they start dying. Okay, so you have to find a good balance between give them the opportunity to collide, and colliding them will mean to reproduce them. So they reproduce on the fly. They just collide and have a new offspring right away. It's not exactly like this that's happening in real, but this is more metaphorical. So we bypass that stage of growing up and being able to learn the environment. But this is more like you will see in the movie. Get the sound. When you interact with the system, it's not that easy actually to keep all the insects alive. Okay, so it's a very fragile balance between the life and death in this system. And you see the flashlight here. It's now no, I lost all the insect at the beginning. It's a bit dark here. You see the light beam, and then insects are trying to follow the light. Okay, here didn't succeed again. Let's see. So here we have a bigger population. And at one point, the population gets big enough so that even if you kill a lot of them, they will still reproduce at a higher rate. So basically, you will have a kind of equilibrium between the dying population and then the one that can reproduce. Because can explore different representation of these organisms. So what you have seen until now was like insect as we know, but it's or like fish. But this is more abstract, and it reminds us more like cells or bacteria. And we have been making different types of works that explore different types of representation as well. Here we have an interface that we developed. It's inspired by this echograph, this machine that make you see inside your body without going inside. This scanner has a sort of has a camera inside, a touch sensor, several sensors, and something called polymorph sensor that in the 90s was very popular for finding out the position in space of a device. So with this, basically you scan your body, and you have different screens in front of you. The camera is picking up your image, and as you put the scanner close to you, you start triggering the vision of these cells in your body. The cells are actually being visualized like they will be inside your body. So basically you scan your body, and then you see different generations of these things. They have been created on the fly also, meaning that they are not already made, but they are actually created with the parameters that the camera is picking up from your body. So basically the colors of your clothes, the position in space, etc., etc. So we have different colonies of this insect, and then you can feed them. And by feeding them, you reproduce them by cellular division, and then it eventually invades the screen of your neighbor. So it's like viruses. It's extending itself to another spot. Okay. Our very first artwork was made together in 1992. It's called Interactive Plant Growing. And it illustrates very well our different background. We met in Germany in 1992, and Krista studied art and botany. And I studied art and worked already with electronic media since quite a while. So when we met, we started to make an artwork together, and this is the result. So it's called Interactive Plant Growing, and it has 5 living plants inside. The plants are connected to a computer, and there's a large screen in front of you. The plants act a bit like an antenna, so basically they pick up your presence, they pick up the microvoltage that you have in your body, and then through the plants, an interface will capture this tension and then interpret it into digital data and then send it to the computer. We have 5 plants, so there are 5 streams of information. If you are not next to the plant will not react or have a very low level of activity. But when you are actually approaching or even touching the plant, then the activity will be higher, and this will trigger the growth of artificial plants that we designed on the screen. So each plant is from a different type. We have an ivy, a fern, a tree, a moss, and a cactus. And this will create a kind of digital garden in front of you. So the garden will be always different, it depends on the interaction. We have different parameters that we can extract from the person's presence next to the plant. Is the distance, for example, from the hand to the plant will change the reaction. The body charge, of course, the electric body charge of the person will also be very personal. The way the person will move the hand over the plant will also be a parameter. So having several sets of parameters, the plant that is growing on the screen will change. Okay, so the change is not dramatic, it's just more like the size of the plant, the color will change, the leaves will grow more or less, the plant will expand or not. So these are different characteristics of each plant, and then you could decide whether to stop the growth or not. Oops. Okay, that works.
And growing, because of the fact that you touch real plants, you approach your hand to the real plants, and by this you give information, you give data, you give your attention to the plant. The real plant or the living plants capture this tension and give it through an interface to the computer, and on this big screen in front of you, virtual plants will start to grow. Without the people, this work would not exist or would not function.
As Krista and Laurent explain it, a plant can pick up the natural electricity in your body when you touch it or even approach it. Transducers near the plant's roots detect that human-to-plant charge and relay it to a graphics computer. The computer then generates and projects images of the plant. You touch the fern, the bush, the ivy, or the tree, and you create images. Touch the cactus, and this virtual garden is erased.
The plant itself is a sort of antenna which has its own voltage, but it's also capturing the voltage of people outside or the whole environment around.
By the approach and the contact of a viewer's hand to a real plant, the viewer can regulate in real time the process of this virtual growing on a high-resolution 4x3 meter video screen. During the growing process, the viewer can direct the size of the plant, modify the rotation, can change the colors, or control new places for new variations of the same type of plant. Since it takes some time for the viewer to discover the different levels of modulations, the viewer acts as a randomizing factor for the plants by giving to them a very unique character. The communication between people and plants.
In this piece, we introduce another plant, the cactus, that really have a function in this piece because basically all the plants are growing and growing on the screen, but we had to erase the screen at one point to make a new garden. So the cactus is there for doing this function. It's a real cactus and it's really difficult to touch. But when you succeed, then eventually you are actually erasing the picture, leaving space for a new garden to grow. The living room piece was made in 2001. We had a series of pieces using this kind of system. It's basically when it makes use of search engine, image search engine that started at this time to emerge on the web. So basically, the piece is now using the immense database of images that is available on the net. A microphone is placed in a room and picks up words of the public, interpret it, and then translate it, and then search immediately for image corresponding to the words it found. Okay, so it's in real time. It's the screen that you have here is a touch screen, so it's a human-sized touch screen. We made the technology; it's a multi-touch touch screen, and then you are visualizing keywords on the screen. If you touch these keywords, then you release the images that have been found using this keyword on the screen. And not only that, but this piece also has music that is played at the same time. So the search engines are also looking for sound files having the same keywords, and then you start having also these many different types of songs played at the same time, because it's multi-user. So the room is actually made with 4 of these large screens. So you have a kind of very chaotic and visual feeling when you are interacting with this piece. Here you see 2 users touching the different keywords. I'm showing the movie. Okay, so when you capture one of the keywords that you are interested in, then you start releasing all these pictures, and then you can touch the other pictures and then continue the exploration. So it was a very different alternative to make interactive system on. The way you interact with search engine usually is you have a grid of different images, and then you click on one of them and then eventually give some more links. So this is a bit more free in a way. And you can explore differently this image search, and at the same time it's a bit chaotic. So when people talk in the room, of course, all the words are not exactly correct, and it's giving a little bit of a life into these search engine systems. Nanoscape was a different type of exploration. Here we are dealing with a sort of invisible sculpture. Here the user don't see anything. Basically, they have their hand over the surface of these tables, and what they feel is coming from a computer program, a small atom simulator, and then you actually feel the sculpture. You are not seeing what is there, but you actually see the contour of it. And for this, we developed a small interface. Basically, that's the interface. It's just 2 permanent magnets that you hold in your hand. They are quite powerful. And below the table, we have a large electromagnet that is making a very strong field of magnetism, and is able to actually manipulate your hand. So you hardly keep the control of your hand position over the table. Therefore, it can push your hand higher or lower, and then you can, if you scan the table surface, you will actually feel a form. This picture is not shown to the public, but it's basically to show you a little bit of the atom simulator. The atoms are just together onto a surface, so it's a 2-dimensional surface, and then all these orange spots here are the hands of the user. We have 4 users in the piece, and they can interact independently. What you feel is actually the interaction between the atoms. So basically all these are creating forces, and this force is actually shown as, or not shown, but felt as a magnetic field in your hand. Okay, so when you are moving your hand, you're actually disturbing all these atoms, and then you can even feel somehow the hand of the other user indirectly, because if 2 of these orange atoms are next to each other, they actually make a connection. Okay, so the people in the room are actually interacting with each other without knowing it. So the disadvantage of this piece is that you can't film anything. We have not really the technology to give you, the feeling of what it is to interact with something invisible, and it's really hard actually, even to describe what it is, because then you have, on one hand, just something to visualize. So you see here people are scanning the table surface. The sculpture is not very high; it's like 10 centimeters. And the forms, the contours are changing all the time also as well. You are actually interacting with atoms, therefore the simulator is changing as you interact, which is the principle of, when you are actually in science, when you're observing atoms, you are actually changing their state. And therefore you never know what's the real state of an atom because you have to observe it, and therefore you are changing it all the time. Another area was media facade. We have done several pieces, but this one, Krista showed it a little bit yesterday, so I will not go into too much in detail. But it's basically a sustainable display that takes its energy from the sun and displays a picture or some text using the sun, actually, the sun reflection. So it's not LEDs based, it's actually just the reflection of the solar cell itself. When the solar cell is going towards the floor, it's getting darker. And when it's going towards the sun, it's getting lighter. And just this difference of contrast is enough to actually make the user see a picture. The resolution is not very high because the cells have to be quite big. Each cell is equipped with a small motor and some electronic system. And so independently, they can be moved, and they can just recharge their own battery. So there is no external power coming from it. And with this, you can create different types of text or very, very rough graphics. But it's an idea that we didn't implement. It's just a prototype at the moment. In 2001, we did a funny experiment. It's sort of a mobile phone in a way. These are two fresh pumpkins, and we modified them. We integrated some electronics inside. Here, the user, we can see two users here holding it in the hand. You hold the fruit in your hand, and by doing this, you actually give your heartbeat, your pulse, through the fruit. So there is a small sensor that picks up your pulse through the finger. And with this, this information is sent wirelessly from one device to the other one. And here, the other person is actually receiving this information like a heartbeat. So basically, it's moving. You feel the heart in your hand. There's a small actuator that are built that make you don't hear it, you just feel it. It's like holding the heart of someone. I mean, I've never done it, but it's it must be a funny feeling when it's happening. It's the system is in both ways. So basically, the other person is also giving her own pulse, and you are sharing this very private information in a public space. Here we explored a little bit this very strange feeling of actually exchanging private information, like the heartbeat. It's something hidden. Usually you don't share that. No one sees your stress or anything that is happening in your body. But here it's possible. But you still do it in a sort of a private way. Okay, so you are exposed in the public space, but this information is shared with someone you may know or may not know. And that's the interesting part, because then it's a very different thing if you share your heart pulse with someone you know or you don't know. It gives you a strange feeling of sharing this information, and then here the communication is very abstract, so it's not like sending text or images. It's more like emotional level. Here you see a person blowing in it. We have also little sensors that measure breathing. So if you blow into the device, a small fan is actually activated on the other pumpkin and blows back into into your face. So they're actually two channels. It's like living signs, like breathing and heartbeat. It's a sign that you are alive, actually. And as an environment, we place the people in this bubble chair that are very famous. That creates also a very private environment within a public space. Another weird interface we made in 2012, so it's really recent work. It's called Schall und Rauch, and the title, it's a German title. It means noise and smoke. And we use very old telephones. Now these are obsolete dial telephones, the ones that have this round dial interface. And we modified it. And so when you, in the exhibition, when you take the phone and try to use it, smoke will come out of the phone. You see a little bit of it here coming out, and noise will be delivered in the phone. I mean, when you are trying to actually say something, it takes the voice and scrambles it. So it's nothing really intelligible that comes out of it. This illustrates physically and literally the German expression Schall und Rauch, which meaning basically it's hollow words. So whatever you say, it's becoming smoke. And yeah, there's a problem. And yes. And yeah, so it's basically a little bit of illustrating the habit we have at the moment of sharing a lot more things than we need to actually, using our modern communication devices. We have been exploring more of these media archaeological interfaces. One of them here have been exhibited in Brazil, actually, in the Itaú Cultural event. And then this is an old typewriter that I modified with an interface. It's picking up all the things that the computer reads what you are typing on the typewriter, and project back on top of the machine onto the page. Okay, so here you see what you are typing, but this is a computer image that you see, and it's synchronized with the machine. When you type a text and you manipulate the handles, you are releasing a small spider or kind of insect that is made out of the word you were writing. So basically the DNA of this creature is the text you are typing. And it's not completely random, it has a logic. Each letter of the alphabet is coding for some functions, and the set of functions through the words is creating a small creature. So the creature is just a circle at the beginning, and then as the computer reads what you are writing, it modifies this circle, attach eventually some legs, muscles, and has different weight, and again some physical calculations is done, so that when the creature is moving the legs, it moves forward. And we equipped this machine fully so that it's basically remaining exactly a typewriter. So you can type anything, you can use the scroll, and you can create a different population of insect, and the insect will try then in return to eat the words you are typing. Okay, so they are feeding on words, and they are feeding on letters, and as they do that, if they succeed to pick up a letter that you are typing, then they can reproduce. So you get more and more insects into your page. They can't escape the page. The page is their space where they live. But you can eliminate them. So basically you can just scroll them out of the page and they will just disappear. You can have a big population.
Are they trying to get back in there? What are they trying to do?
Well, they're trying to catch up all the characters that I'm typing.
guys are very hungry.
They're hungry?
I gotta get rid of these bugs. They don't like it. They try to crawl out, don't they?
Another recent piece we developed last year is Escape. And Escape is an installation that uses an old 16 millimeter film projector with a crank, so it has no motor. This one is very old. I think it's from the 20s. And we use also an old screen, foldable screen from that time. Here the user is invited to actually turn the crank, and as they do that, there was a small fly that you could see on the screen. At the beginning, you see only one fly that is there waiting. As you turn the crank, this fly is starting to move, and as it moves, other flies are coming. And after a while, you see a lot of flies. It's like 4,000 of them on the screen. And some of them are stopping. So some are just not moving anymore. They're staying on one very specific spot on the screen. And slowly, you are starting to read a text due to their positions. They are acting like pixels. So you start reading a text, and this text is actually the Metamorphosis from Franz Kafka. It's a very famous novel written, I think, in 1912. And then this novel you could read, actually, by just actually moving the crank. At the beginning, you see only the first page, so the beginning of the story. If you stop, then you release all the flies, and if you start again, they're coming back. And as they come back, they're actually writing the second page. So if you go on like this, you can actually read the whole novel, but it takes a long time. It's more like the emergence of the text through the flies that was interesting in this thing, because it's almost the opposite of the piece I was showing before, where you were writing the text and then insect will come out. Here, the text is made by the insects themselves. So the text of, the story of this Metamorphosis is a very sad story about a man who wakes up and is laying in his bed and discovers slowly that he's become an insect overnight. So just like he's completely helplessly looking at what's happening to him, and I cannot really change anything. He's not able to escape his own condition and has to live with this new condition forever. So it's this piece has been developed actually in a very, very specific space in Switzerland. It was a bunker, so like a place where people will go and then use it as a shelter if there's a problem outside. And it's a very strange feeling when you are in this bunker, because then in this shelter you have the feeling you can't escape if something is happening outside. There's no window, no nothing. You are below the earth, and then it's completely empty. So it has these both feelings. You are protected, but at the same time you can't escape. And then this feeling inspired us actually to create this piece. So as you leave the piece on its own, all the flies are going away except one, actually. The one that was at the beginning that never escapes the piece. That's the one that we see here. We developed the second piece for another shelter, which is different. This one is more like looking like a natural cave. It's not natural, but it's in the rock. And we developed a mobile system because there is no plugs for any electricity there. It's really in the mountain. So we decided to use this very old Lanterna Magica that was used as an early form of slide projector, but even movies were not even invented at the time of this machine. So there used to be slides made by hand, actually drawings that were slided in this device before, and then it helped projecting pictures on the wall. Here I equipped the Lanterna Magica with a cell phone. These cell phones now are like this one. They can be connected to projectors directly, which is great. So these are little computers that you can carry somewhere. And then I generated some graphics with the phone, and you could project onto the wall with the help of the Lanterna Magica by holding it. By holding it, at the beginning you see only very abstract forms, and as you stay still, these abstract forms slowly become more figurative. So you start discovering, a little bit like you discover the text, here you discover images. These are faces of children. And this shelter is a military shelter, has been used for just storing some equipment during the war. So we are projecting here faces of children of that time. They are rather sad, but it's a bit creepy because we are in complete darkness. Here we see a little bit of light, but in fact it's completely dark. And it's a very small place, but you feel very much that there's a history inside. And as you move the device, actually you are starting to, you can see it on the movie, you're starting to scramble again the picture, and then as you stay still, another face will appear. So we have been playing also with the very rough wall surfaces that is crippled with holes. It's like very rough rock, and then these little dots are actually mixed with the holes of the wall. So it's you are actually discovering something slowly and not very fast. Another work, we have been exploring a little bit further also the interaction with the public, actually more about the value of what the public brings to an artwork. As you know, I mean, this is called the economy of attention. This is present on the net all the time. So basically, if you click I like, this is economy of attention. Someone has been looking at your things, and therefore you get a feedback. And this feedback is not just a monetary value, it's a value. It's a value, it's an abstract value, but it has some potential for you to evaluate how many people have been looking at your things. So it's the same. We applied that to artworks. Basically, you know that the cost of an artwork is sometimes a little bit weird. You don't know why such artworks sometimes have so high prices, because it's hard to actually evaluate it. And this is based on the same thing. So basically, we implemented that idea very simply by buying some artworks like this painting from an auction house from a not very well-known painter, and equipped it with a printer. So there is a printer below here with paper going out of it, and then this machine is observing you, actually watching the painting, and calculate how long you are staying in front of it. So if you stay like 5 seconds, it starts printing the new price of the piece. Okay, so the price is increasing as you watch actually the painting. So it's a little bit of a joke, but at the same time it makes sense. It makes sense, for example, in museums. The museums have many visitors. They are counting the visitors, and if the museum is very successful, they get more fundings from the state, and therefore they can acquire even more artworks. So it's a positive feedback, but it is a feedback, and it has a direct connection with the number of visitors. So it's the same here. In a way, it's absurd, but at the same time, is recalling us that we are actually being tracked all the time for these kind of things. Advertisement is working the same way, and it is kind of a loop in the system. But in the art, this is hidden usually. We don't see that too much. I mean, it's a bit of a taboo to speak about, the costs. But in fact, for us, we are evaluating also the interaction between people and our work. Without people, our work is nothing. It's not really much anything because there's nothing happening, right? We are always actually seeing people in our works. They actually contribute to the work. So here it's more like a reminder how things are been changing over time. And what used to be a very static position of the user is now more of participation. This one I've been traveling a lot. The price is very high now. So we calculated about 10 seconds is €1 more. Well, this is the end of my talks. Thank you very much for your attention. And